afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. Welcome to Oz by Drone Unplugged.
Yeah, hi, I'm John.
Hi, John. We literally are unplugged. I have no Ethernet connected to my computer today. This is the internet that is driving the show right now. And unfortunately, the wonders of the internet in Australia have caused, and yours too, yeah.
Yeah.
The wonders of the internet in Australia have caused us grief one too many times. This week, I couldn't prepare for the show. It was physically impossible to download the clips, get the news, and all of the stuff that I normally do. It was just impossible. Having internet out for hours and hours and hours at a day, totally down. And when it is working, it's working at 0 megabits per second on some of the speed tests that I did. So
I suppose some of the people around the world might be thinking, well, way down there in Australia, you're lucky to have internet at all. And, to add on to that, Greg, I mean, you don't know, this week we heard that a solar farm, a turbine wind farm company was going to be sued for not meeting their responsibilities for supplying power. The truth is, in Australia at the moment, there is a problem with infrastructure because the country is not keeping up. We are not really able to supply the electricity required for the country, and we certainly can't meet our broadband needs either. That's just become more and more obvious.
Yeah.
And look, it's not that we're remote either. It's not that we're down here. It's just that we have, let me say, I think legislators and the people responsible for making sure that's done haven't done their job.
Yeah. Anyway, let's do a couple of things. I agree with you 100%. Let's do a couple of things. One, I want to get a quick update from you because you've been away for a while and you've been doing stuff. So I'm going to let you go and give us a good catch up on what's happening, except that your picture's frozen. Are you still there?
Are you back?
Oh, there. Yeah, I'm back.
Oh, good. Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to give it my best shot. Thank you. I have been away for a while. I've missed a show, and usually I can do it remotely, but I have been very remote. We did a tour beginning mid-July with a band, and some of you that do know me know that I'm a musician by trade and a commercial pilot. So
we use that term rather loosely, but
yeah, okay, I play the drums. I gave up music to be a drummer. Yeah, okay, we'll throw that one in early because it's fun. And I over the last a decade or so, I've done some work for the Queensland Music Festival, and they combine my flying skills with my playing skills and invite me to join a band or put a band together and fly it through the outback, taking concerts to very remote and regional and remote areas in Australia. So it's been great fun. I've done 5 of these tours. We normally fly it in a Piper Chieftain, a PA-31, which is a 10-seat aircraft normally. We take 4 seats out, and so it's a combi arrangement. We've got a mini drum kit, a little PA, and the very first one I did was with a quartet, with my own quartet, and that went really well. Then I took a violinist and concert pianist around, and they were really, really great tours. And then this one, very special, was with 2 aeroplanes, and my good friend Jake Barden flew the second aircraft, and we took Glenn. If you're not familiar with his name, he was the very famous lead singer with the Little River Band, which I'm sure my American friends have heard of before. So we had a great time. We did 10 shows, playing in places like Barcaldine, Chinchilla, Moranbah, Hewenden, Birdsville, right around the extremities virtually of Queensland. Lovely flying, great sort of places to fly, beautiful weather this time of year at winter in outback Australia. So it's been a great couple of tours, and then I've actually got some more flying work that's carried on from there. So sometimes I'm hoping that one day I can stream from the aircraft, because that'll be fun too. Occasionally, if you're flying in the right place, you can. So I've got a lot of clips, and I'm going to share those. Now I've just sort of arrived home this weekend. I'm going to share those for the show, and they're on the Morrison Aerial Robotics website as well. If you can hear, it's blowing outside at the moment. We're having what we call a polar low. in Australia. So the whole southeast here, where it doesn't normally snow, is seeing snow today. It's incredible. Check
I was
those
actually,
images out.
for this show today, I was originally planning on going out flying today, but looking at my Can I Fly There app, no, not going to happen today.
No, the winds are good 30, 35 knots with higher gusts.
I can see there's something in your window. I don't know if it's maybe the curtain rod at the bottom swinging.
Yeah.
So that John's on a boat, and
Yeah.
that'll give you the idea of how much wind there is out there at the moment.
Yeah.
So no flying today.
Jackie's looking hard at the absolutely. Our air assess work, which we use the Mavics for, is going to be hopefully picking up when this is finished. Although usually that means people are losing their roofs if we're going out and doing that sort of work. So that's not good for them. But can you close that so I can talk? That'd be great.
A roof came off a nursing home in Newcastle.
A roof came off a nursing home in Newcastle. There you go. So
Okay.
they're getting some sun. But anyway, just if you see the movement, you know that the boat's really moving today.
Okay. So I heard at the very beginning, before we kind of got on, you want to speak about CASA today as well.
Yeah, look, this is a two-edged sword, because in some we keep getting emails and sort of things. Oh, we're moving forward and we're going to do this and this is going to happen, and then say, okay, we'll wait for a while, and we wait and we wait and we wait, and then you start making inquiries, and one in particular that we've been watching closely is this EVLOS approval, extended visual line of sight. In Australia, this is going to be a big deal for operators and for all pilots who need this sort of work, law enforcement, emergency services, and they've formulated all of the regulations. Everyone put their procedures together. We actually spent months working on this, and now I've had 3 emails saying, look, CASA saying, look, we haven't really decided what the approval is going to look like yet. And it's just incredible. So this week I wrote to Scott Duffy, who's the head of the Outpost Division here in Cancer, and I got the same message. We'll let you know when we've decided the format. And yet, we'd heard that they'd been giving them out to other people, but apparently that's not true either. So, there's a media, if you like. Let's make us look and feel good to the public. We're doing our job, but when it gets down to brass tacks, it happens so slowly, and I can't see why. Staffing issue, I'm willing to listen about that as well. But why, drive this media campaign about being proactive and moving things forward? They're obviously,
and then at the same time, if you have a look at what's happening in the bigger picture, they've certainly delayed the launch of the drone registration. So if I was going to put one and one together, I think they've been forced into doing the drone registration. They're not ready for it. They're not scaled up for it. They're trying to build that infrastructure, and they're people that should be approving things under existing rules and regulations are tied up with paperwork and red tape.
Exactly right. So, people, because perhaps the whole of government approach is saying, you've got to do something about drones. We want to see some action. Oh, we're going to register drones. So guess what? We've just heard that they're going to have, first of all, they're going to register commercial operators. Hello, we're all registered. You've got all my serial numbers, all the pilots. You've got all of our job sheets. CASA actually they know everything. So we're registered already. So that's really just to say, okay, here we go. We're implementing it in November. My guess, and I'm going to make a guess here, is that they were told by the government to get something going in 2019. So November, not much of 2019 left. CASA says, well, let's just say we've registered all the commercial guys, and then we'll do the recreational guys next year,
Well,
now,
it's
just stupid. And look, here we go. We were going to have 12 months. This was going to happen. We're still waiting 3 years down the line for it. So I think, to give the whole story. So this bureaucracy's got a responsibility where the government's saying, you got to do this, you got to do this. Maybe they haven't got the staff. I know they've had a lot of staff boosting. Their resources have been given heaps and heaps of push, but they're still not coming up to it. They're not making a grade. And look, whereas I stand here, I'm saying I'm not being critical of any other thing than saying, just tell us, don't give us all of the good news that's going to happen and then make it not happen. Be particularly with the industry, a lot of stakeholders. I've got clients that are invested now in EVLOS because I told them it was coming. We had every intention that this was going to be a very straightforward process, and they would change their operations. EVLOS would be available, and so they've gone to their clients. So we've got a whole bunch of stakeholders who are looking at me and saying, "Well, you're the one talking to CASA. What's going on?" And they get sick of me saying, "Oh, well, it's CASA." I can't give that kind of excuse to a commercial client. They don't want to hear that. They want to hear me get up there and get what I've believed was able to be done. So anyway, I loved it. Ben's comment there. CASA has a user's pays and pays and pays. Let me tell you, man, I've just done my renewal for my license, and I wanted a reprint. This is just a PDF document that I can download. That's already on file online. All I have to do is download it, and it updates what my current instrument renewal is. $25. $25. Can you
to
believe
download
that?
a PDF. Yeah.
That was it. I couldn't believe it. And and we're sick of it. The paperwork for a medical, $165. So now a doctor does all that online for your medical. It's all passed. It's just another one that's sent to you as a PDF document. $165. If you've got an issues, it's going to take time. Guess what? Until the doctor says you've passed your class 1 medical, that's all CASA get. Oh, he passed. This is the records. That's all they have to do. Here's the certificate. So pays and pays and pays, Ben. Absolutely. I mean, and we're going to see some heavy duty gouging from the drone industry purely because of the numbers. There are going to be more licensed RPAS operators in Australia than they're going to be manned aircraft pilots soon, and they are going to gouge us to the hilt. Don't worry about that. I can see it coming.
Let me just briefly give a thought for myself. Something that is good in our local government where I live, the New South Wales state government, and I'm very rarely praising government because usually it's not so good. But what used to be the RTA, which is now Service New South Wales, you go in there to go and renew your licenses. You can do it online. You've got an app. Driver's licenses are going to be online on an app really, really soon now. And I just think that what would make a lot more sense is for CASA to partner with your local state driver's license issuing organisation, whoever it is in your state. And just like you can get a driving license condition of spectacles or auto or manual, get a drone license little tag on there as well. And if you don't have a driver's license, go and get a normal proof of ID card. Something like that should be so simple for recreational pilots.
Yep, this is right. Well, there was a lot of talk about when New South Wales Maritime, so they decided to merge the boat license and the car license together. And people said, "Oh, how's that going to work? It's a completely different thing." It's not. Your car license is purely a check that you passed your requirements for it, and you get a card for it. Your boat license is a card. You get it. The actual issuing of the card, the making of the card, the taking the photo, making the plastic, checking your records, which are all linked up anyway. Service New South Wales is a great idea. I agree, Greg, and it could be broadened for everything. We should be doing Medicare through that, and all of our health services. Everything should be government service, and cut that cost. But here we go. The cost it's getting much easier to do the driving license stuff as we're moving things online. What's the cost of the driver's license?
I don't know if you heard, John, but recently my wallet was absconded by some nefarious bad guy. And in getting my replacement driver's license, I logged onto the website and I was able to order it online. They used the existing photo. I think it was $16 to get a new driver's license out, and it was just done. So that's a really good example. Yeah.
And that was a plastic card, not just a PDF document.
Correct.
CASA haven't moved forward to any kind of plastic card here. We've got a PDF document, basically there's no checking in aircraft. These days, if you go and fly an aircraft and you prang it, they'll sift through your ashes and work out whether you should have been there or not. Which is kind of the way it works. Anyway,
so
back to
summary about CASA in general, right? So the summary topic point would be they're behind the 8 ball in terms of delivering to their registration, in terms of delivering to their other obligations for the new types of exemptions and whatnot. It's moving very, very slowly, probably because of the first point, because they're busy tied up trying to do the big bang thing rather than focusing on the daily turn the handle kind of things that they should be doing. That's my opinion anyway.
That's right. I mean, I think that, they could probably work and give us lots of other excuses. I know we've got an Open Sky app now that's supposed to have the registration integrated into it, so you're using that app and how it goes. And, wow, I think it's probably caught up with the lawyers as well, because there'll be privacy issues on that one, on tracking your location while you fly and all. Look, you name it.
We looked at that the very first day that app came out. I had a look at it and I clicked on the local place that was telling me it's a restricted area or whatever, and it couldn't tell me what it was, who owned it, who was responsible. But the old app had more information, so it's still a piece of rubbish as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it is rubbish, and they might be saying, "Oh, well, this person hasn't delivered whatever." Look,
no, this is every heliport everywhere has no information on it. It's not a case of one person hasn't delivered it.
Oh, CASA haven't delivered the app, is what I'm saying. And here's the thing. Oh, look, it's complex. I'm not going to sit here and say that running, aviation law and regulation is a complex thing, but we need to get it done. You absolutely need someone to get it done, and it is, in some very, very basic ways, clumsy and inefficient. And how can it do a complex job if it's clumsy and inefficient to start with? And you know what? I'll tell you, there are people in CASA that work at CASA that feel just like we do. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and I just saw a comment from one person over here. Ben Cartwright, he's not an Australian, and he wanted to get the app as a visitor. So if someone's visiting, good luck trying to get them to use it, because they can't. And it looks like John may be frozen. Oh, no, there he is.
Good point, Ben. You know what? I tried when I was going to fly in the States. I wasn't able to download the Before I Fly app in the States either. Is there's a territorial legal implication or jurisdiction that's a problem with that type of information? Whether you use it, what is it? A would-be terrorist going to use it? I have no idea. But of course, that's ridiculous. I mean, if you know your stuff, you'll be able to check charts to see where you can fly. The one about, I suppose, just while we're on that topic, if you are a visitor and you someone who watches this show, and you're coming to Australia and you'd like to fly in the Sydney area, there are a lot of restrictions. Fly around the harbour, there are, if you know where to go, just send us send to the show. Send us an email saying I'm visiting. Maybe it's a chance to hook up or not, but we'll help you. And with that one, very, very easy. It won't be hard at all. Drop us a comment. Greg's got a mailing address for the show. We've got email address for the show. There you go. Upload. Just send us if you're going to come to Australia. Of course, if you just want to know more about Australia, there is plenty of stuff online to look. But if you're actually visiting,
if anyone's visiting, even if they're an Aussie and they want to come out and fly, either with John or myself, or catch up or chat or whatever, drop us a line. We're approachable.
Yep, and look, if you're a part,
John has not quite as much time because he's running around and jet setting around and hopping from town to town and all of this kind of thing. But
I can always pick up a phone and answer an email. The other thing is interesting. If you're a waiver holder, if you're a commercial drone pilot visiting Australia, and you bring your aircraft with you, and it's an American registered aircraft, then you can operate commercially here on an American license with an American on an international treaty. I found that
Now,
when I went to
here's an interesting one. You've mentioned this to me before.
Mm.
I accept that you're trying to say that you can do that, but I think a few people in the aviation regulation game are saying you had to have flown the aircraft in for that treaty to apply.
Interesting, because the FAA didn't cover that one when I was in Hawaii. So I went to this is a couple of years ago. I went to the FAA office in Hawaii. I'd done my exams to get my American waiver so that I could fly there. And they said, well, what aircraft are you going to fly? I said, well, I've got this one. And they said, is that an Australian registered aircraft? And they said, yeah, you can fly it. So they cited my REPL, Australian remote pilot license. They cited the aircraft, and as all they could tell was, well, you could do it. Now, you make a good point, and that would be an interesting one to test. If you didn't do anything wrong, I don't think you're going to get it tested.
I think you're absolutely right. And I was actually chatting to some other people earlier today about this exact topic, about the whole beyond visual line of sights topic. And people are saying, everyone does it. And I won't mention the person, but they said, I do it. I fly beyond visual line of sight. I'll just never post those videos publicly saying that I'm doing it. And that's the reality that CASA need to get their head around. Anyway,
I think they've got their head around. I've got their head around that. Then you know what? For BVLOS, which is hard to prove, in terms of I can see the aircraft, and look, you may have exceptional eyesight. If you may be able to see a long way. And even if the CASA's there saying, well, I can't see it, you say, well, I can see it. I mean, this is where the stupid stuff comes in. One thing they will nab you for is flying closer than 30 meters to a person. If you've got a video showing you flying over someone, they'll be straight on you if they're after you for anything else. Don't worry. The first, if they've got a complaint and someone's going to be looking at you,
and they will be
looking for evidence. And
this is exactly what I spoke about with, and I won't mention his name because it was a private conversation with someone else, and we talked about, regulators generally won't come after you for a BVLOS infraction unless you're doing something stupid with it. If you're flying closer than 30 meters in Australia to someone, they will come after you. If you're flying over the middle of suburbia and they can see cars and people and all sorts of other things down beneath you, then they probably will come after you. But if you don't crash the aircraft just flying BVLOS, if you're doing it in what someone might say is a safe manner, let's say you go out in the middle of the desert. So iSpike, if you're watching, if you go and fly your thing 5 kilometers from home and back, they're probably not going to come after you.
No, certainly if there's no incident. Remember that a lot of these things are post investigation. So either someone's made a complaint, a serious formal complaint that they've got to investigate, either CASA or the ADSB, or there's been an incident where the aircraft has crashed and injured someone. Otherwise, they'll make a few. They make a few example ones, if you like. People flying over the harbour bridge and in between the pylons and stuff, and they'll say, well, we're going to give this guy a $9,000 fine so that everyone knows you're not supposed to do that. So we see that. And then
just to be clear, John, just explain to people, if you have a drone and you want to fly in Sydney Harbour Bridge, can you do it recreationally? First question, answer is
no.
And if you are a registered commercial pilot with an REPL or an overseas licensed pilot, perhaps, I don't know. Well, that's a questionable one. But if you've got an REPL, what do you need to do?
Well, you just need to fill in the application for a Romeo 405 approval. And you can download it and you fill in your name and where you want to fly and what time. And the good folks there, Leonard and the team at Sydney CASA's RPAS office, will have a look. And look, here's the thing. If you want to fly, if you live near the harbour or you wanted to fly regularly somewhere, now this will apply to anyone overseas as well. If you've got something that you want to photograph, maybe it's a ship leaving or whatever else, don't do that first. find out how you can take a little photo of a shed on the waterfront in the restricted area, which on a calm day, and blah blah. Do something simple. Put the paperwork together and try it out. And then what's happened with us, we think, is that CASA have gotten used to the pilots that work for us, a Romeo 405. So we've got a template, got our name on it, ready to go. And so then if it's not a complex operation, they'll just tick it off straight away. We'll get a response within hours saying, yep, you can go fly there. If it's more complex, and they will look at it. We had one where we were doing some photographic shooting for a Clean Up Australia Day, where there are going to be teams of people walking the beachfront. We'd done the paperwork, so we're saying, well, we're flying over the water, offset, etc., etc. And came back and said, well, how are you going to do this one? You know, how are you going to manage that? So we ended up not flying that one. It just wasn't going to be easy. So, but being able to have a, if you like, working relationship with the person responsible for there. Or if you live in a military base and perhaps you know those people there, you live close enough to the base where you could approach someone and get a some kind of approval for whatever you want to do. Don't do complex stuff. Something easy, something you can manage on a nice day, fly safely. And then after the acquittal says, look, it went well. We know this guy. He contacts us. He doesn't fly illegally. And you're setting yourself up for a yes answer more often.
Yeah. So start small, do it simple, etc., etc.
Yep. Same with your business.
I want to go. Yeah, absolutely. I want to go somewhere else for a little while. I want to talk about the internet. Now, obviously, John, you're into aviation. You're not a network guy, but you use technology. So I'm going to tell you my stuff and you can share back some stuff to me. Okay?
Yep.
Just tell me what you think. So first things first, Australia promised the NBN. Okay,
Yep.
The NBN is the National Broadband Network. Australia promised we're going to give fibre to everyone's home. That was the original promise. Subsequent governments said, we don't want to spend that much money. It's too expensive. We want to do it for a cheaper cost. Fair enough. They then said, we're going to do fibre to the node or to the curb or to somewhere close to you, and we'll use your existing copper to do VDSL, which is a lot better than our legacy DSL that we've got in this country. Then came our former Prime Minister, who wasn't in that role at the time. He was Communications Minister, and he said, we want to now use the Foxtel cable network. Now, the Foxtel cable network is this 25, 30-year-old network that was originally designed for television, broadcast one way, going out to everyone. Now, again, you'll get some of this through your understanding of RF, through your aviation radio kind of stuff. Now, at the moment, my existing cable service that's broken today that I can't use, I've got 8 channels coming from the exchange to me, and I've got 1 channel going back. That's existing today. And that's with a very small number of people using cable internet. Most people are using DSL. Now, just imagine if you take that already bad network and you put all of the other ADSL people onto it. So straight away, you've got more people talking in that broadcast domain. Okay? Now, the internet is, the data requirements are increasing at an increasing rate. The Netflix effect, as people have talked about many times, is not going to stop. People are going to have higher and higher demands for network traffic. So if you compare what was originally promised, fibre to the home, you've got light. It's light going through that little pipe, and you can have different frequencies and spectrums and as many different things as you want there. It's pretty much point to point. But as soon as you're saying we're going to share hundreds, if not thousands of people on the same bit of wire, it's never going to end well.
Yeah.
Now, that's my opening statement. John, your thoughts?
It's a technology problem. Oh, well, first of all, your comment about the government, you're assuming that governments are going to do what they promise. So let's put that part aside first, right? They're not going to promise. They are going to, the government is going to always sort of be asking people, oh, what do we want next? What's the latest technology? Who's going to provide it? The whole thing is really, to me, broadband or communications is a technological problem that hasn't been solved. And our demand, our thirst for it is high. Now,
it's been solved, but just not at scale and not at the
scale
cost they want.
So here's the thing about my personal feelings about that communications. If I jumped forward, I don't believe we'll have any infrastructure on the ground in terms of wire or cables. The future is wireless.
I'll jump in there for a minute, John. And I think not necessarily, because, again, the problem of shared bandwidth technology, when you've got an increasing demand and an increasing appetite for traffic, right? Eventually, you'll have to put in so many cell towers, and I haven't done the math on this or checked it out. This is just me thinking common sense wise.
But that's cell towers at the current broadband availability. You're talking. What about? I'll give you a little example. This will take just a brief thing to explain. I'll give you a parallel example. Years ago, and it's a flying one. Years ago, when radar was first introduced in the Second World War, they had these great big dishes that used to scan the sky. They'd send out a pulse or a signal. The aircraft would bounce back off the signal, and you would be able to see on a screen the position of the aircraft. Now, this went on for years and years, and everybody thought it was absolutely amazing. We've got control. We can help airplanes, and safety was enhanced incredibly. Marching through the late 60s, and they developed a thing called secondary surveillance radar. Because it wasn't that reliable, they said, let's put a box in each airplane, every airplane, that sends, rather than receiving just a pulse and letting it bounce off the airplane, when the airplane receives a ping from the ground, the box will interrogate it and say, yes, that's me, and send a nice signal back saying, this is me, this is my registration, and I am, so we can identify the aircraft. No one thought to send back perhaps the altitude.
Yeah. Here's the problem, John. Here's the problem.
Let me finish. I've got one more.
Okay.
One more thing. So here's the thing. I want to talk about the jump, because this is a concept, not a solution. So we send back. Then we started sending back altitude. It was called Mode C. Now I'm sending back my registration, and no one ever thought. So we had in Australia very limited coverage. Then all of a sudden, ADS-B comes along. Now, we've talked about that before. In the aviation world, ADS-B puts a transmitter or just a radio mast out in the stick somewhere, not a radar unit, just a receiver. And in each aircraft, we take the GPS information off the aircraft and we send it as a digital signal in packets. So guess what? We can have radar signal, if you like, type information, aircraft GPS, position, speed, height, identification, track, everything. All of the GPS information in the aircraft is now sent by a simple data packet into the system.
I get it, John.
No radar.
I get it. And here's the problem.
And
here's the problem. At the moment, you've got a certain density of aircraft above Sydney, let's say. What if that density was multiplied by 50,000 overnight? Does ADS-B scale?
ADS-B scale? Well, we'd choke at the computer, not the actual receivers, if you like. The aircraft aren't going to know. They're just sending their signals anyway, dumbfounded.
Correct. But the difference is, if you've got two aircraft talking at the same time, right, there's going to be some problems. And that's the problem you're going to have with 5G. And we had someone a few moments ago, let me scroll back up. Peter, wireless won't handle the Netflix thing. And he's exactly right. And the problem is broadcast domain. Peter works, if I remember correctly, at Telstra. Correct me if I'm wrong, Peter. The challenge is that wireless is good for your traditional mobile communication, but for your home internet, if only 1% of the population in Australia wanted to use wireless as an alternative, it works. But if you put overnight everyone onto the same platform, you've got this concept of a broadcast domain. Here's a good example, John. You're a muser. You would understand this, okay? You're at a pub and there's two people in the pub. You're in one corner, there's another guy in the other corner. You can have a conversation as long as you've got enough volume physically to get from one corner to the other. Mm-hmm. Start to fill up that room with simultaneous conversations, and how does that work?
I'll tell you how it works. And again, I'm just come back to my point. It's a technological problem. You say the wireless networks can't handle Netflix. Guess what? I can remember the day when my phone was the size of a house brick. I couldn't send a text on it. No, but here's the thing. You say now it won't handle it. Guess what? I can watch a movie, Netflix movie, on this. And 10 years ago, that was not even dreamt about. So if we go and say in 10 years, it's a technology problem. That's all. I mean, how many? I want to be able. If I wanted to be able to, we're streaming a show today live on the internet from a wireless network. You're not using it. So you just say we don't have it yet. That's what we have to say. You can't say never.
Here's my claim. If you hypothetically put everyone on 5G today using the current dispersion of cell towers that there are today, it would not scale.
No, of course not.
And reading the comments from Remote Pilots Australia, he makes a comment about X25, and I'll let you know I'm quite familiar with X25. It includes packet collision and redundancy within the protocol. It handles congestion quite well, although it slows down somewhat. And that's the point. Once you saturate a broadcast domain, it slows things down. Whoops, wrong one. I didn't mean to do that. Even within the TCP protocol, you've got TCP retransmissions if things don't work correctly. And that can cause even more noise going back and forth where they're all trying to retransmit and things are not going well.
Now, I absolutely understand, and forgive me because I'm not. This is not my forte, not something I know about, and our listeners and people in the show really do, and I know you do as well. So my answer is a very very simple one in terms of saying we need the technology. But here's this one: if the government has spent $90 billion, right, $90 billion to put NBN in, how would that, if we spent that money on developing a wireless network, would we get something? If we started from a clean sheet of paper, ADS-B style, and said let's not even think about cell towers, let's work out a way, let's put the money, invest the money into the solution for absolutely.
I understand what you're saying, and I understand what you're saying. Let me say this: as long as you've got broadcast domains, you've got challenges of collisions. As long as you've got a large number of people on the same broadcast domain, the only way to pull that in is, and Jet Martin is saying, seems like speculation. Do we have any true experts? If not, this is a waste of conversation. So I was one of the original network architects of what is the TPG network today, which used to be Communico. I owned my own internet company. So no, it's not speculation. So I wanted to qualify that. Back to my point, broadcast domain, as long as you've got a large number of people in one broadcast domain, you're always going to have collisions. You cannot get rid of it. You cannot eliminate it.
That's a physical thing.
Yep. Exactly right. So if you can't eliminate it, the only way to reduce that possibility is to increase the width and have lots more channels.
Hello? Did you just give me an answer? Is that an answer?
I gave you an answer, but is it a scalable answer? I don't think it is. I don't think it's a scalable answer. Let me go back to something else just for a minute. So the whole idea for the NBN, in my view, was a good idea. You needed to have a new national broadband network, right? Doing it where HFC is being used, and Remote Pilots Australia has actually just said this, it's a disaster for NBN. It was criminal to drop fibre to the home. I'll agree with half of what you said. It was absolutely criminal to use HFC, But fibre to the home, I don't know if that's the right answer either. I personally think what should have happened is NBN should have guaranteed fibre connectivity within X meters of the homes for, let's say, 95% of the population, and everyone else is on satellite. Once you get it to within 100 meters or whatever the number's going to be from your home, then putting in the last mile connectivity should be a responsibility of the telephone company to go and do that last mile installation using existing copper on day one, and then it would be solved. But this HFC business, I mean, Telstra is laughing all the way out their back pockets because they got paid $2 billion for this piece of crap HFC network that they realised had reached the end of its lifetime, right? It's an end-of-life network. Even Foxtel is saying, we're not going to be using that anymore in a couple of years. We're going to get off the network. We're going to stop using cable, and they're going to broadcast over the internet. So end of life, and our government paid $2 billion for this stinky pile of stuff that is giving a bad performance. Let me go a few steps more. I had someone from the NBN come out to my house yesterday, and he was looking at our infrastructure. First comment in is that there is no fibre in the street outside the front of my property or anywhere close to it planned at this stage. So I've got no better answers than this HFC network that I'm on now. So there's part one. Part two, if I can't get fibre to the something, what is life going to be like? Now, Peter's saying, don't forget the optimization project. Yeah, my optimization project has been ongoing with Telstra, and there's so much noise in it, not on the download, because the download, you've got one transmitter that's talking very, very loudly on its dedicated set of frequencies. But when you've got a large number of people replying to that and someone who wants to stream, any little bit of noise with my low RF powered modem is going to be very, very difficult to get a clean signal back. And it's going to be the same with NBN on HFC. And the ridiculous thing is that $2 billion, what money did they save? Because tuning and optimizing and continually maintaining that HFC network is going to cost more than $2 billion over a very short period of time. It is just that expensive. But anyway.
We're stuck with it.
Yeah. Anyway, just looking here, a couple of things. Mag Kiwi says, pay for a private line in, then sign your neighbours up. We can't do that either because the pit that's out the front, they've already told us cannot accommodate 20 people in the pit. And there are 20 units in this townhouse complex, so we're stuffed there. We'd have to go and rebuild the pit. Then we'd have to go and pay for the fibre into my area, which is going to be a big chunk of money as well. I just don't see the end of this unless the government pulls out their pocketbook and say, yeah, okay, we've made a mistake. We're going to have to go and forget the HFC option. It is not scalable. Anyway, here's what we're going to
have to pay anyway.
Yeah. We're all going to have to pay. Here's what we're going to do now, just really briefly, John. I'll just jump in. I'll let you go soon, John, but I'll invite anyone who wants to come on and have a chat about the technology as much as the internet is going to let us do it. If you want to come in, I've put a StreamYard link. You can come in and have a chat for a little while. John, you can stay as long as you want. Once we get a couple of people in, if you want to disappear, feel free as well.
I'll go and sit on the side. So I'd love someone to come in. I'd love to listen and hear some, particularly people that are in this game, and help us know the future. Coming back quickly before I go to our drone industry, this and people might think this is an Oz by Drone show. Let me tell you, broadband streaming is a very, very big deal in the drone industry in terms of how it's going to progress. We've looked at the cost of a satellite, a Viasat, when we're using remote area satellite networks that the TV stations use. obviously, you know, as everybody sort of knows, listening to this, that they only ever thought you would download. No one ever thought you would upload. Well, guess what? It didn't turn out that way. If I want to stream high quality vision from my aircraft, then you know I should. That's a requirement that's going to come up to our industry, and we are going to need a solution, a very, very good solution for the drone industry to move forward in terms of broadband. And, you know, just if we can't get it in our blinking houses, we're never going to get it from the air.
But you know what, John? You know what, John? I think 5G is perfect for that application because you've got one person or two drones or whatever it is, that's fine. But if you've got everyone using 5G and Netflix at the same time, you're screwed.
Yeah, that's right. Well, let's just see what happens. I'm going to go and sit on the side, and this guy is a new bit of software. You can see we don't look different. Greg's not in his studio today, and I'm actually sending on the boat from my 4G, very, very limited 4G signal today from the windy down the boat, and you're going through your phone as well.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to do it using my very expensive cable internet, but it's not working again.
All right.
Let's just quickly, I'll put myself on the screen for the moment and have a quick chat, and I'll bring up a couple of people momentarily. Let me just do that now. So one of the things that I will talk about, why am I using StreamYard instead of Wirecast today? So Wirecast is a little bit more demanding insofar as you've got Wirecast saying, I want all of the guests to come into Greg's home. So all of this data coming in, and Greg is also sending out one to John and one to the other guest and one to the other guest. And that kind of bandwidth is very demanding. Now, as long as I've got this software in here, the amount of data coming in and out of my house is minimized. And that kind of works okay on mobile. Anyway, speaking of guests, I've got the man.
Yeah. Come on, let me in.
You're in.
G'day,
Spikey.
Okay.
I'm looking at the back of your phone, though. I'm looking at the back. You're showing me the pavement.
Hang on. I've got to spin it round, do I? Yeah, righto. Go like that.
There we are. There's Mr. Ice Spike. I'm doing fine. Your internet. Now, let's just quickly get you to comment on this just a little bit. Sure. Your internet, you're in the middle of nowhere. And the good thing is for you,
yeah, go on.
The good thing is for you is you don't have, the population of Sydney to compete with your wireless. So for someone like you, you're in where you are, and you're the only one in the pub talking to the cell tower. Does that kind of make sense?
That's right.
So for you, for out in the bush, that might be acceptable. But if we talk instead about people in the centre of Sydney, where you've got, and John's just dropped off there. I'll let John disappear.
Yep.
It's just not going to scale.
No, it's not. It's you're having a good old whinge, aren't you?
Look, I don't want to have a whinge. I've got a
no, you shouldn't, and you shouldn't have to. It's 21st century, isn't it? It's bloody stupid. How someone like me in little old Hicktown, it comes down to that broadband thing, doesn't it? I mean, sorry, the bandwidth thing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I must admit, last night, right? I mean,
does my example resonate with you though, Spike? It's a good way of talking about it, right? You're down at the pub.
Does. Yep.
And if you're the only one on the broadcast domain talking to the guy in the corner, you can raise your voice and you can talk to him. But as soon as you put a couple of hundred other people in the room, it's not going to work really well.
No, but I have to go really close to that bloke. I have to go close. So I guess what you got to do, Greg, is move right next door to Telstra.
You know what?
What?
I can, from the front door of my house, if I climbed the ladder, I could see the Telstra exchange from here.
Is there not any, how would you say, I've seen places where they're like shanty town and they get a pair of jumper leads and they hook onto the wire. Can you do that?
Yeah, I wish.
Hey?
I wish. Anyway,
it's a real pain in the bum what your situation is, most definitely. I mean, like, you've looked at other answers, Greg. What are they? Well, look, I mean, is moving a better option? I mean, not that.
Yeah, let's just go and spend $1 million to go and move your house because your internet doesn't work. That sounds like a great answer.
Not very good, is it? No.
No. You live in the middle of nowhere where you can go and get a caravan and drive it down the road, and you're right.
Yeah, but I must admit, like last night, right, for instance, I was on the net there mucking around, Facebooking and whatnot. And as you can see in the background here where I am, I'm actually in the caravan park down here in Perth. And I must admit, during a period, like it was about 6 p.m. through to about 9 p.m., man, it was so slow. It was ridiculous because, once again, how many people were here on that same thing at the same time? So, I noticed the big difference in regards to population made it so slow. It was ridiculous,
Yeah.
So, yeah. And that was over a Wi-Fi situation using the phone,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
g'day to everyone. G'day to. I just wanted to quickly, while I got the chance, Greg. Thank you for letting me jump in, mate.
Yeah.
I thought I couldn't not. I had my dressing gown on and everything. I quickly get that off and make myself look pretty.
I don't want to think about you getting undressed, Spike.
and jump in. I've got people over there looking at me going, "Oh, it does whatever. It doesn't matter. Me, no shame." But yeah. Thanks for just letting me pop in. G'day to everyone in the chat. It's easier to do this than it is type away and everything. So thanks for saying g'day. I'm not too sure, everyone. I'm going to have a go tomorrow with my live because I'm staying down here in Perth on the phone. So we'll give it a go. I don't know if it's going to work or not. And the beach, the ocean's just there. So we might do it from the ocean tomorrow morning. That's mine. Sorry for the rude plug there, Greg. And thank you for letting me have a chat and jump in, man. If I come up with anything, I mean, you're the man. You know your stuff. So it's you're in a rock and a hard place, mate. I really don't know. I guess it'll be interesting to watch. I like watching from the sidelines a lot of things that go on. It's been quite an interesting week this past week, but
let me just quickly come to that because I've seen there was a question asked just a couple of moments ago. Let me just scroll back up. It was, can you comment about the FT Aviator saga? I'll just quickly make a couple of comments on that, and I'll just mute you for a minute, Spike, but I'll bring you back in just a moment. So here's the deal. FT Aviator, there are people who have differing views on the product at a technical and functional level. Having said that, there was a little bit of controversy regarding differing views. I'll leave it at that. At a technical level, I think everyone agrees that the FT Aviator people have a little bit more work to do in terms of looking at their product and making some improvements in a couple of areas. One, the sensitivity of the actual control unit itself. Two, beyond that, the, what shall we say? The actual functionality of being able to hold the joystick, the mounts and all of the physical geometry and cables and all of that kind of stuff. So those are the two areas that need work. Now, beyond that, someone is saying everyone was told to consult me about this thing. And I'm just going to say this. The fact that there's no hugging, loving apology is a decision that I think both Bill and Ken have agreed that there's no further discussion need on this. From their perspective, the topic's dead. Beyond that, I don't want to talk about it anymore either. You'll notice that there was no reference to it on Ken's show yesterday. So that's all I'm going to say about it as well. If anyone has any person-to-person questions for either Ken or Bill, address them to him. But in terms of a let's all hug kind of video, that ain't going to happen, and we'll leave it at that. I think everyone wants to just put it to bed and have no more to say or discuss that any further. Anyway, with that, I'm going to bring in Spike and the Oracle. Ask the Oracle. Oh, you're transparent again.
Absolutely. I will always be transparent.
How are you, big brother?
I'm doing good, little brother. Yeah.
Good.
And I mean, you know, everything said and done, that's the way the day ends, I think is a great way to end it. I just thought I needed to show my inner peacefulness here and how I'm just kind of one with the universe now.
People can see right through you, Lloyd.
That's it, man. Well, I am, after all, running for president of the United States under the NBN Republican ticket, and I stand for nothing, and I won't stand for anything. So, and I can be bribed, but I'm transparent. I'm saying it openly. I'm not against donations.
Yeah. Let me just pause for a couple of minutes. It's nice to have you guys in there. I'm just going to pause for a minute and ask, is there anyone in the channel, in the chat room, that's a networky techno geek who would like to comment on, rebuff what I was saying about the NBN, tell me I'm wrong? I love to hear alternate views, but I'll just paste that link one more time.
Now, this is the same network that was part of the original Telstra that was owned by originally the Australian government, correct?
Yeah, so this is what's even funnier. The Telstra network was owned by the government. Then the government said, we want to get lots of money so we can invest and build infrastructure and do all sorts of good stuff. And then they said, let's sell Telstra. So they sold Telstra. They had a lot of money. Then the next government went and spent the bucket of money and had nothing left in the kitty. And then you've got this Telstra thing over there and everyone else is trying to compete. Then they come and say, okay, now we got to go and build another network to catch up to the rest of the world. Well, you could have done that if you retained ownership of it, but that's beside the point. But yeah, that's what happened.
So they sold it and then allowed another company to run it into the ground. I'm ignoring his skull.
Yeah, let me just mute Mr. Spiky over here. I need to put him in the background because it's distracting.
But anyways,
he's
so
still there, and I'll put him back in a little while.
So they ran it into the ground, and they're using basically, because if it's the same network, you know, because I've been friends with guys in Australia for 20 some years, and they had just upgraded the system 10 years ago, 15 years ago. They started moving into the 20th century or 21st century, I should say. And now that antiquated system, which they sold, they bought back, and they're expecting it to carry the load of a modern technology-driven society. And yeah,
it's unbelievable. And you have a look at it, and it's not just
whoever was in charge of whatever government was in charge at the time they bought it back needs to be tried for treason.
Well, I'm going to say this. I think the buying back of the last, your phone socket to the street copper, that's okay. I don't have any problem with that in principle.
Right.
But buying back the HFC network with that large, big broadcast domain, I have a problem like that. And it's antiquated and it's not well suited to high-speed bidirectional communications. Downloads, one way. If you don't have to acknowledge every packet, no problem. Broadcast, you can control it from that end. But as soon as you want to have data coming back from an end user, like I couldn't do this right now, and I can't do it on my traditional network.
Right, because the stream, and that's part of why I came on. StreamYard is being, all of this is being controlled on their server rather than on your computer. So it's not GPU or CPU intensive. That's
that's the problem for me. It's not the CPU or the GPU. It's just the network links in and out of my
packet loss. Yeah, it's a packet loss going in and out.
Yeah. Anyway, if there's anyone else who wants to join in, speak now or forever hold your iPhone. And I'll put Spike back for now.
Oh, good on you, mate. Well, thank you.
Sorry, Spike. I don't want to be disrespectful.
Spike, are you in the loo?
No. Well, yeah, I can be. There you go. You want one? this is the bathroom. But I thought, you know, you're talking away, and I thought I couldn't help but to show you my. I see nothing, I hear nothing, I say nothing. You know, the skulls, and I don't have Scully with me, you see. So yeah, here we are, and I just sort of come in my hotel room, making a nice cup of coffee.
That's where that's where this show just went.
This show is going off the rails, Spike. I thank you. Have a great day, and I hope people come onto your stream. I'll get rid of the toilet humour for now.
Okay. Spike's always good for a laugh.
He's always good for a laugh. He is.
Yes, okay. Rick Halver says he was checking the stream. I did ask, Ari. I wished I hadn't.
Look, last chance for anyone who wants to come in. I would love anyone who's technical to either agree with or disagree with what I was talking about today. And
I'd love to see Ari come in or Peter, either one. Actually, there's a lot of guys putting up some good comments.
Yeah, look, I was seeing some good stuff in there. Maybe not something like this one. Anyway, the government knows the vast majority of users don't need ultra-fast uploads. That's correct for today, but it's a bad assumption. There was the Netflix effect. People didn't need fast download before, but all of a sudden the Netflix effect, and you've got all of this high-speed download. Well, guess what? It's going to happen with upload as well. People putting in their own surveillance cameras or sharing media between you and another family member, direct peer-to-peer networking.
Look at the growth of YouTube and how many people. Just look at in the last year since I started getting really active in YouTube, how many people have started doing live streams. I mean, just in the group that we all know.
Yeah.
I mean, the everyday person, you got myself, Mel, Rodney Bell, you've got everybody that's doing, I mean, there's just so many people. And now with Google Hangouts made it easy. Then we got StreamYard, which is making it, yes, they need to have it set up. I mean, that's the reason I can't do shows too sometimes, is because my uploads, my arm's just kind of floating there, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, moving right along.
Yeah. But
I'm waiting for the reaction to that.
I saw it. I was ignoring it. Bite me, Ari.
Okay. It seems there have been large leaps in 5G, and maybe future iterations will double or triple what 5G can offer. In the meantime, multiple broadband options. Mobile broadband, no matter what, you've always got a broadcast domain. You've got lots of people talking in the pub at the same time. And the only way to fix that is to have more pubs, just like you've got, if you increase the number of cell towers, and each cell tower will have a smaller number of people in the room. And you've got to wait until you've got a small enough pub or small enough people in the pub so that you can talk to the DJ in the corner and be heard. It depends on how many people are talking. The more people are talking, the more pubs you need.
Well, yeah, just like in the case of Mel's show, he had to pick the time that he did, because if he goes earlier in the day, his network is being used more, and his packet loss is greater, because there's people that are not just downloading but uploading as well. Like you said, video alarms and video doorbells and all this.
Yeah. Remote Pilots Australia, he's an ex-director of the Wireless Institute of Australia. By and large, I have to agree with Greg.
Okay.
You agree that we need more pubs?
Yeah. Well, that might make this defeat a little easier to swallow.
That might make us forget about the internet.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. We all need to, instead of worrying about YouTube and the internet, we all need to sit around the pub and, have a good drink, couple of good beers, a couple pints.
Anyway, look, I think we've gone just over our 1 hour for the show today. It's been fun doing it without the prep work. Sorry you didn't have the news today. like I said, it was just too hard to download all of this stuff and to prepare it and put it all together. As well as that, my regular camera upstairs wasn't working via the Blackmagic device, so that was annoying me. Then my headphones, I've only got one ear working today. Then
but it's perfectly, you're a perfectly rounded person in this image.
Sorry, what were you saying, Lloyd? I didn't hear what you were saying. Anyway, back to the point. Where was I? Yeah, technology. So headphones, camera, computer was doing some weird things, and the internet was all crapped out as well. Did you unmute yourself? Can you do that?
Yes, I can. I learned that. I've been at this a little longer than you, mate.
Yeah.
I lied when I said I didn't know everything about StreamYard. I know a lot more than I pretend.
Okay. Anyway, that's all for today. It's been fun. All proudly presented by the wonderful broadband network of Telstra and the NBN. But actually, let me go with one last thought before I finish. This whole fault with my NBN or Telstra, whatever it is, Telstra kept on telling me it's an NBN problem because NBN bought the physical infrastructure and they don't manage it anymore. And NBN said, we can't see a problem with the stuff that we manage, it's Telstra's problem. So this is the kind of stuff that we need. We need a little bit more data to go and give to them. And for those that follow me on Twitter, I'm posting up regularly, every couple of days, a picture of some statistics. Stats don't lie, Telstra. When the network is down and it can be proven to be down, I don't care if it's you or NBN. Just go and fix it or stop charging me money until you do.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Thanks very much. Thanks, Lloyd. See you next time. Bye for now.
Later, guys.